च श्रोत्रजिह्वे न च घ्राणनेत्रे न च व्योमभूमिर्न तेजो न वायु चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न च प्राणसंज्ञो न वै पञ्चवायु न वा सप्तधातु न वा पञ्चकोश न वाक्पाणिपादं न चोपस्थपायु चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मे द्वेषरागो न मे लोभमोहो मदोर्नैव मे नैव मात्सर्यभावः न धर्मो न चार्थो न कामो न मोक्षः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न पुण्यं न पापं न सौख्यं न दुःखं न मन्त्रो न तीर्थं न वेदा न यज्ञः अहं भोजनं नैव भोज्यं न भोक्ता चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मृत्यो न शङ्का न मे
बड़ा वाला काला तकिया झाड़ के ले लिया।
पिता नैव मे नैव माता न जन्म न बन्धो न मित्रं गुरो नैव शिष्यः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं 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 शिवोऽहम्
Hari Om sir.
Hari Om.
Utsav, has Seema joined?
I don't think so.
Hari Om, good morning.
Good morning.
हरि ओम सुप्रभात
Good morning.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om, everybody.
Hari Om.
Okay. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti. Okay.
हो गया उठो हाँ ये तेरे लिए नहीं ये कुछ ऐसे ऐसे
Chapter 1 of the Vedanta treatise. So, section 1 is called An Introduction to Vedanta. Chapter 1, the role of Vedanta. Today I'm going to pick on someone to help read with us. So, the first volunteer that comes up on my screen is Divya ji. Divya ji, will you be comfortable reading for us today?
Sure. The role of Vedanta. Science and Vedanta. Vedanta literally means culmination of knowledge. Veda means knowledge. Anta means end. The knowledge of yourself, the self within is supreme, presently obscured by your body, mind, and intellect. You are aware of the body, mind, and intellect, but you're not your real self. Vedanta helps you unfold yourself. Discover the true nature of your inherent being. Your real being is divine, the abode of absolute peace and bliss. Another para?
Yeah, I'll tell you when to stop.
Okay. Humanity is unaware of the intrinsic wealth within oneself. People seek wealth and enjoyment in the external world. They are governed universally by two motivations: to acquire wealth and to enjoy what is acquired. Thus is the life of human beings propelled by these two forces. Few realize that there can be no satiation or fulfillment through acquisition or enjoyment, through external pursuits. Life
Vedanta
is
literally
defined.
means the culmination of knowledge. Veda Anta. The culmination of knowledge. Knowledge culminates with the realization of your real self. It's the highest knowledge, it's the ultimate knowledge you need. When you realize this knowledge, you will realize your true identity. You are Paripurna. See, there's a reason why he's beginning with this. He's giving you the ultimate truth in the very first paragraph because he's not beating around the bush. This is what Vedanta is about. Vedanta is truly, essentially about making you realize your real identity. You know not who you are. You know not who you truly are. And you are caught up in this ignorance of your own identity. You believe yourself to be this individual possessing this body, this mind, this intellect, distinct and different from others, separate from others. You are aware of this body distinct from another's body. You are aware of this mind distinct from others' mind and its feelings. You're aware of this intellect distinct and different from others' intellects and their thoughts and ideas and beliefs. And you have created this, what is called the ego. You're not saying it's right or wrong. You're just diagnosing the situation. But pretty much all your problems in life, and let alone problems, pretty much all your pursuits and confusions in life have to do with this one misidentification. Vedanta helps remove this misidentification. It reveals to you who you truly are. What you are currently is just an actor on stage. You're simply playing a variety of roles on the stage. Vedanta helps you get off the stage and go back home. So as we meander through this introduction to Vedanta, keep this concept in the back of your mind. Keep this concept in the back of your mind, because ultimately what Vedanta does is, firstly, it will help you manage your life on the stage. No doubt. You're on the stage and things are kamsi kamsa. Some things are good, some things are not so good. So it'll help you manage, because otherwise we make a mess of this life on the stage itself. We make a mess of the role on the stage. So no doubt Vedanta will help you manage this life on stage. But ultimately, its true purpose is to help you go beyond the stage. You're just on the stage, you're just the actor. That's not the real you. This person who is the father, brother, mother, sister, friend, boss, employee, all the roles you're playing, partner, husband, wife, they're just roles you're playing on the stage of the world. All the world is a stage, and all men and women merely players, said Shakespeare. All the world is a stage, and all men and women merely players. They all have their exits and their entrances. Life begins when you get on the stage, and life temporarily ceases when you get off the stage. And again, you're back on the stage, and again, you go off the stage. Reincarnation, punarapi jananam. What is the end to this? When will we go back home? Done acting. Vedanta helps you go back home. So it reveals your true identity. It helps you unfold your real self. Tat Tvamasi. Your real being is divine. Know not that divinity. Your real being is Paripurna, all full. Purna means full. The word in Sanskrit is Paripurna. Purna means full. Paripurna means all full. Whenever I introduce this term, I'm reminded of a joke. So, Purna means everything. Purna itself means everything. Purna. Purnamada, Purnamidam. Purna, Purna Mudachite. So the word Purna out there means everything. Or as the South Indians will say, everything. Ah, everything. There's nothing which is besides it. Everything, include everything. It's Purna, complete, total. So Paripurna is an exaggeration on how will you translate Paripurna? All full, completely complete. An inconceivable fullness. There was someone by the name of Purna who came to visit the ashram. There's someone by the name Purna who came to visit the ashram. And that day we were served, sometimes when people come visit the ashram, they usually, they come with some treats or the other. That's why we love guests. When we were students in the ashram, we used to really welcome guests. Atithi Devo Bhava, because they used to bring goodies. So this person, they cooked modaks. You know modak? People outside Maharashtra don't know modak that much, but if you know Ganeshji, you'll know what is a modak. It's like an Indian dim sum for those who don't know. Sweet dim sum. It's like a shape like a dim sum. Inside that is like coconut shavings and very tasty. And it's like literally like a ball. So when something is like this is cooked in an ashram where hundreds of people have to be fed, so usually there's a limit how much you can eat in the beginning, because otherwise some people who are really hungry will take 5 at once and leave none for the other. So there's usually a sign, 1 each please. Okay, 1 each please. So this person came to the ashram and they cooked for all of us, and we were very excited. Maharashtrian meal, there was puran poli and modaks and all sorts of things. So in the modak there was sign, 1 each please. And this other child, name was Purna, slightly chubby, reminded me of myself when I was a child, or chubby fellow. So they couldn't help it. They were taking their meal. You have to serve yourself in the ashram. They were taking, and they saw 1 each please, but they couldn't help it. And they picked up 2. And they came to the table, and I was sitting on the table with someone else, my fellow student. And they picked up the modak. A small fellow, but big mouth. They opened their big mouth and put the modak all inside at once. Modaks are big. So my fellow Guru Bhai, he's telling Purna, after eating this modak, you have become Paripurna. After eating this modak, you have become Paripurna. So that's my reference for Paripurna. You are Paripurna, you are all full, you're completely fulfilled, but you know not you are all full. Because of your misidentification, because of your wrong assumption of who you are, you imagine yourself to be this body with all its ailments. You imagine yourself to be this mind with all its wants and desires. You imagine yourself to be this intellect with all its ideas and its conflicts with others. And the problem is we made a mess of it. All problems pertain to either your body, your mind, or your intellect. So we made a mess of it. So Vedanta helps you manage this mess, clean it up, and ultimately, more importantly, shift your identity. Realize that thou art, Tattvamasi. So, because of this misidentification, he says, we're lost. We're lost. We know not who we are. We know not what we're looking for. We don't know why we've landed up here. We have this individuality. We have this mind which is seeking. Because we are paripurna, because we are truly all full, our mind is seeking that experience of fullness, of completeness. And how do we seek it? We seek it through acquisition, and enjoyment. In order to regain that sense of fulfillment that we truly are, this is the Vedanta 101. In order to regain that sense of fulfillment, you are all full. You know not you are all full. You are all full, but you have become ignorant of that fact. You have lost your true identity. So to regain that fulfillment, you feel a void within. You feel a void within. You feel like something is missing. And in order to fill that fulfillment and unfulfillment, in order to fill that void, you reach out to the world. You reach out to the world in the form of desires. Desires are nothing but thoughts flowing from you to the world. Please understand this definition today. We're not getting into the merits and demerits of desire. Please understand this definition today. What is a desire? Neither good nor bad. The best of desires, the worst of desires. This is the concept. A desire is a flow of thought. Very important. A desire is a flow of thought from you to the world, to a particular object in the world, or a particular being in the world. A desire is a flow of thought from you to the world with the hope of acquiring it and enjoying it. When we say, I desire something, what does it mean? I want to acquire that thing in the world and I want to enjoy it. And why do I want to enjoy it? To feel full, to fill that void I feel within. Vedanta doesn't say, don't enjoy the world. Vedanta doesn't say, don't pursue the world, don't interact with the world. This is the biggest misconception of religion, of philosophy, of spirituality. And at no point Vedanta is saying that stop enjoying the world. What Vedanta says is, understand this process. There is no fulfillment. There is no fulfillment through what you are doing. No sooner you acquire and enjoy something, it's a temporary bliss. Before you know it, 5 more desires have sprung forth. So become aware of this. Anyway, I'm not going to go on and on because the entire book is about this. There is no satiation. Few realize that there is no satiation through fulfillment of acquisition and enjoyment. Few realize that there is no satiation or fulfillment through acquisition or enjoyment. If you don't believe this right now, it's okay. The whole book is going to discuss this only. We're going to try to share the light with you through external pursuits. Ultimately, true fulfillment lies in the inner journey, not in your external pursuits. But that doesn't mean you stop your external pursuits. That doesn't mean you become a recluse and you go into the forest. That's not the solution. The other extreme is also not the solution for everyone. So how do you proceed? Step by step, sharing this knowledge with you so that you can find the right way of relating with the world, find the right way of interacting with the world, find the right way of reaching out to the world. That is Vedanta. Okay, life is defined. Divyaji? Okay, life
Sorry.
in Sanskrit. Okay, yeah.
Life is defined in Sanskrit as Anubhava Dhara, stream of experiences. As long as experience flow, there is life. When the flow ceases, life is extinct. An experience is therefore a unit of life, constituted of 2 factors, subject and object. The individual, you, is the subject, the world is the object. When you contact the world, subject meets object. You gain an experience, and the flow of experience is life. One class of thinkers worked upon the object, world, to provide humanity with greater peace and happiness. They were the scientists. Science has made a colossal contribution for human welfare. It has developed the world to near perfection with press button comforts. Nevertheless, people are not as happy as they should be. In a perfected world, there seems to be only worry and anxiety, suffering and sorrow everywhere. That is a paradox. Another class of thinkers investigated the cause of the paradox. They were the ancient sages living in the Himalayan ranges. These great philosophers analyzed the anatomy of an experience and discovered that the subject, the individual, was unattended, neglected to a point of fault. While the world was well taken care of by science, consequently, the unprepared individual lived in stress and strain in a world of plenty and prosperity. The sages thus focused their attention on the subject, the individual, and gave out the sublime philosophy of Vedanta, the knowledge designed to rehabilitate the individual to perfection.
Life is
So,
Anubhava Dhara. Anubhava means experience, Dhara means stream. Life is a stream of experiences. As we discussed last time, an experience is constituted of two entities: the subject experiencing and the object that is being experienced. An experience is constituted of a subject that is experiencing and an object that is being experienced. For a good experience, you need both the subject and the object to be taken care of. So science takes care of the object. Science takes care of the world. Its entire attention is on understanding, developing, discovering different facets of the world. With each passing year, we are discovering new elements, we are discovering new technologies, we are discovering new ways of doing things, we are discovering new incredible developments. I'm in the technology field outside teaching Vedanta, and it's quite a yesterday, there was a big conference for Microsoft, which is one of the biggest companies in the world. And it's incredible how fast technology is moving. Things they're talking about, we will become aware of in a couple of in a year or so to come. But just the way in which, especially now, we're talking about artificial intelligence and all this, the world is. If it already wasn't developed, some of us think we don't need all of this. Yeah, the world is already quite developed. But science will go on. This development will go on and on and on, and it should. Nobody's saying it shouldn't. What was considered science fiction till about a few decades ago will become a reality. If not in some of yours lifetime, at least in my lifetime it will. Uh, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure we'll be traveling to the moon and Mars and all these places. Maybe one day we can have a Vedanta class from Mars. Uh, it's going to happen. It sounds like you might be laughing today. Talk to me in 20 years. So the world is developing at an incredible pace. But the paradox is that even though the world is developing, even though the world is becoming more comfortable, even though the world is becoming more connected, we seem to be more disconnected than ever. We seem to be more lonely than ever. We seem to be more stressed than ever. We seem to be more lost than ever. What is this paradox? You thought that being able to comment on someone else's picture halfway across the world, being connected to them, you'll feel more connected. Still, people seem to be more and more lost. Human relationships seem to be disintegrating. Now, is that the world's fault? It's very easy to blame the world for it. Oh, in my time, the world was so simple. Now the world is complicated. It's very simple to pass the blame on to the world. You know, when the world wasn't developed, you blame the world. When the world is developed, you blame the world. You're always looking to blame the world. The problem is not with the world. The problem is because you haven't taken care of this subject. So the entire philosophy of Vedanta, the entire subject of Vedanta focuses on this half of the experience, the subject of the experience. And when you attend to the subject, see, when subject and object are underdeveloped, it's hell. When subject and object are underdeveloped, it's hell. When subject is developed, or rather, when object is developed but subject is underdeveloped, it's suffering, struggle. When subject is developed, object is underdeveloped, it's a challenge. And when subject is developed and object is developed, it's heaven. When subject is developed and object is developed, it's a heaven. So we are seeking to create a heaven. Science is taking care of the world. Let us take care of this individual as well. It is, dare I say, it is more important than this object. As we discussed last time, it's difficult to have a good experience when the object is not taken care of. But it's impossible to have a good experience when the subject is not taken care of. It's difficult to have a good experience when the world is not in a good place. But it's impossible to have a good experience when the subject, the individual, is not in a good place. So Vedanta focuses on the subjective development. Divyaji.
Subjective development prepares the individual to meet the challenges of the objective world. Human beings alone are faced with the dilemma of choosing their actions. They need to exercise the choice of action every moment of their life. All other creatures have a computerized preset program of action. They do not have the problem of choosing their action. A tiger cannot become a vegetarian, nor a cow become a meat eater. They are constrained to follow a course of action to suit their particular nature. Vedanta equips you with the knowledge to make the right choice of action, also provides you with the technique of action, a technique you can apply in your home, in your business, in society, everywhere. It gives you a practical way of life to satisfy your material and spiritual needs. Following that course, you enjoy prosperity with peace of mind. Vedanta, the base of religion.
Only humans have this problem of a choice of action. All other creatures appear to be largely taken care of by nature. Their pattern of life seems to be largely determined, and the way in which they live their life, the kind of decisions they seem to inherently make. See, you have to live with animals to see this. If you live with animals, you'll see whatever they need to know, they already know physiologically. They already know automatically almost. They don't need an education. Animals don't need, they're not even presented with dilemmas in life. Largely, the changing seasons will influence their habits. It's incredible how it works. How much they eat, how much they sleep, their mating habits. If you live around animals, you'll see it. It's incredible. But they are completely dependent on the changing patterns of the world. Only a human has been made independent, but at the same time given the responsibility. You choose for yourself what you want to be, who you want to be, how you want to be. You choose for yourself what kind of feelings and emotions you want to have. You choose for yourself what kinds of thoughts and ideas you want to inculcate. You choose for yourself, do you want to be vegetarian or non-vegetarian, whether you want to be a philosopher, or you want to be a computer scientist, or you want to be a mathematician, or you want to be a business person. You choose the kind of life you want to build. So how do you make this choice? How do you make this choice? The technique of making the right choice of action and the right approach to action, that is a knowledge with which Vedanta provides you. And when you do that, your life is taken care of. When you inculcate this knowledge into your action, into your choices in the world, you'll have a peaceful and prosperous life. There's no doubt about it. And beyond that, Vedanta, the base of religion.
Vedanta, the base of religion. Vedanta is known as Sanatana Dharma, meaning eternal principles. It is systematic knowledge which gives you the true insight into life, draws you towards your innermost core, provides you knowledge that reveals your real self. Your real yourself is essentially divine by you sinner or saint. Divinity is the course of every person. Vedanta helps you identify your divine self, attain your absolute state of peace and bliss. That is the goal of all religions. To discover your true nature, unfold your real self, draw the divinity out of matter layers that veil it. Etymologically, the word religion means that which binds one to the origin. In Sanskrit also, the term yoga means to unite with the self. Furthermore, Vedanta excels in its scientific exposition. It expounds the truth methodologically, logically. It does not rely on authority or a preceptor. Its truth is its authority. No matter or messiah, no master or messiah can claim it. No religion has a hold on it. It belongs to one and all, bears no distinction or caste or creed, community or country. Its universal application appeals to all lovers of truth.
Vedanta
Vedanta trains.
Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma. Dharma means principles. Sanatana means eternal. These are principles which are relevant to your life today. They have been relevant in the past, and they will continue to be relevant in the future. See, most knowledge is not Sanatan, means it is relevant only to a particular period of time. It is relevant only to a particular place. It is relevant only to a few set of people. Knowledge of terrace farming, is it relevant to you? Is it relevant to me? Knowledge of terrace farming is relevant to people who are living in the hills. Knowledge of coding is relevant to you. Is relevant to a software engineer. Acha, within knowledge of coding, certain computer languages were relevant 10, 15, 20 years ago. They're not relevant today. The knowledge of fixing one of those cathode ray tube televisions, the big fat TVs we used to have, the big fat TVs, the screen with the huge, you know, body at the back. The reason there was a body is because there was it's like a system, cathode ray tube. Knowledge of how to fix that kind of a TV, is it relevant today? It was very relevant 30 years ago. It was very relevant 30 years ago. Knowledge of how to fix a Nokia 1100 phone. I learned how to fix a Nokia 1100 phone. What will you do with that knowledge? So all knowledge, most knowledge, particularly knowledge of the world, and most of it has to do with knowledge of the world, is subjective, meaning it is contextual to a place, to a time, to a set of people, and over a period of time or in a different place it becomes irrelevant. So such knowledge is not eternal. Such knowledge is temporary. But Vedanta, the principles discussed in Vedanta, which relate to the individual and how they conduct themselves in the world, which deals with the individual's inner journey and inner realization, inner growth. This knowledge is Sanatana, it's eternal. Also, it's not a set of do's and don'ts. It is a systematic knowledge. It is a knowledge based on a scientific exposition. You have to proceed with it logically, not through a set of do's and don'ts. These are not commandments. If you're thinking Vedanta will give you 10 commandments, 20 commandments, 100 commandments, that's not what we're here to do. You may create your own commandments. Based on this, based on studying and reading this, you have to come, you may create your own set of, inspirations. But Vedanta doesn't necessarily just limit it to 10 commandments or any such thing. It's a methodological, logical approach. You have to understand it, question it, and come to your own conclusion. It has no authority. One of the most unique things about this subject, there's no one guru, there's no one teacher, there's no one messiah who can claim. Krishna cannot claim, this is my knowledge. For those of us who've read the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself says, I was told this. They have said. Who they? The masters from the Upanishads. When you go to the Upanishads will say, Iti Shushruma Purvesham. So have we heard from our predecessors, our teachers. So there's no one teacher, there's no one master who can say, this is my knowledge. Even Adi Shankaracharya didn't say, this is my knowledge. No one religion also has a hold on it. See, it's not that these principles will apply to you if you're a Hindu. You may even be a tribal person living in some remote island. You may be a tribal person living in a remote island and having formed a small society around you. These principles will be very relevant there also. It belongs to one and all. It doesn't matter whether you're Indian or Japanese or Chinese or American. It doesn't matter whether you're brown or black or white or whatever. It doesn't matter which culture you come from. This knowledge has a universal application. All those who have an open mind, all those who want to discover with a true scientific mindset, an open mind, the mystery of life, to all those lovers of truth, this knowledge appeals to them. Its universal application appeals to all lovers of truth.
Vedanta trains you to think independently, helps you probe into the essence of human personality, directs you to study, reflect, and realize the fundamental truth of life. Thus, in the past, generations after generations put in effort to discover the real self. Later on, some spiritual enthusiasts brought out their own abridged version of truth. They were well meant but feeble readings of the original truth. People began to follow their teachings blindly. They lost their independent reflection and judgment. Spiritual education was no longer liberal. The masses were led by the opinion of others and fell a prey to authorities. In the name of religion, fanatic superstitions and parasitic ideas infested humanity, which was plunged people in ignorance. And the world is steeped in sorrow and sufferings. The root cause of suffering is that people do not look within, hardly investigate the truth of life, nor exercise their own judgment. They rely on outside forces to do their thinking and function predominantly on blind faith and mechanical ritual. This is spiritual suicide. Castes, creeds, and sects are the ghosts haunting the world. The role of Vedanta is to free you from infatuation to celebrities and educate you to the eternities.
Highlight this line.
Thus,
Highlight this line. The role of Vedanta is to free you from infatuation to celebrities and educate you on the eternities. The role of Vedanta is to free you from infatuation to celebrities. We make a celebrity out of everyone, everything. See, religion is meant to be an individual pursuit. And no doubt, a collective society around you is meant to support that journey, is meant to support that journey. But the problem happens when the journey shifts from an inquiry to a fanatic belief. When the journey shifts from an inquiry to a fanatic belief, when the journey shifts from being a true process of discovery to just a intellectual, superstitious pursuit. So he says, no doubt over the course of history, in this land and even outside this land, many people, many masters who have understood this knowledge have given out versions of it, and every knowledge, every scripture, every tradition is spoken to a set of people. See, that's why when we study the Bhagavad Gita, especially if you study it with us, it's not a fanatic belief in everything that is being said. We approach it sensibly, we approach it with a sense of inquiry. We take into consideration who is speaking to whom. See, in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, Krishna says, Saguna Upasana is better than Nirguna Upasana. In chapter 12, Lord Krishna says, Saguna Upasana is better than Nirguna Upasana. Form worship, idol worship is better than formless worship. That doesn't mean that the idol worshippers will start having a war with the non-idol worshippers. You have to understand what is being said. You have to understand who is being spoken to. You have to understand the flow of thought. The problem is, and I don't need to elaborate on this, half the world is divided between form worshippers and formless worshippers. Those who claim to be formless worshippers. The biggest religions in the world are fighting over this. And fanaticism, idiocy is being spread. Sometimes you feel like, let's just end all religions. It'll be easier. Nipta do sabko. Really? Made a mess of it. So we can't necessarily change other people. We can't change the course of the world. What we can do is take responsibility for ourselves. For ourselves, let's not be driven by superstitious belief. Let's take to this subject with an open scientific inquiry, with an open mind. Let's take to this from the perspective of trying to understand what is being conveyed. The root cause of suffering is that people do not look within. That's fundamental. We are extroverted in our pursuit. Besides that, they do not exercise their own judgment. They rely on outside forces to do their thinking. One of the biggest gifts you can give, this is coming from a perspective, one of the biggest gifts you can give, say for example, if you're a parent to a child, is to inculcate in the child the capacity to think for themselves. As a teacher to a student, it's not important for me to convey knowledge to you. It's not important. Knowledge is available everywhere. You can get this book by yourself, you can read it, and you can understand it fairly well. At least some of the concepts and the words you can understand, you can replicate it. But the role of a teacher, the role of a guardian, is not so much to just stuff the dependent with knowledge. It's to help them think, is to inspire in them questions, is to provoke in them that sense of inquiry. Not shower them with do's and don'ts, not shower them with rights or wrongs, but to make them approach life with this spirit of inquiry and let them make mistakes, let them fall. Whenever someone asks me to do, see, I generally get this complaint. If you ask a favor of me, I will never do the whole favor. I'll usually give a reference. If someone wants some help booking something online, or help with an app, I'll always tell them, okay, download the app, do ABCD steps and figure it out. The people usually, sometimes they tell me, some of my near and dear ones, why don't you help me? I am helping you. I don't want to just do it for you, I want you to figure it out. Please, you do the UPI payment, मेरे को ये समझ में नहीं आता. अरे बाबा, you learn. If you don't learn, then you'll always be dependent. The role of a teacher is not to give you fish, it's to teach you how to fish. For those of us who are vegetarians, this example may not make sense. The role of a teacher is not to give you the fish, it's to teach you how to fish. If I give you a fish, you'll eat it, you'll feel happy, but then again, a few hours later, you'll be hungry. You still need more fish. But if I teach you how to fish, it makes you independent. When you teach someone how to think, you make them independent. You make them capable of dealing with situations in life. You might think you're being mean. You might think that, oh, what happens? Will they suffer? Actually, you're doing them the biggest service. You're doing them the biggest service. On the contrary, if you're not inculcating them that spirit of inquiry, if you're not giving them the opportunity to think, it's actually a disservice. You might think you're helping them. It's the biggest disservice. So people generally rely on outside forces, others to do their thinking. And we just want to follow what others are doing. That's the problem. Our herd instinct. He says this is spiritual suicide. The role of Vedanta is to free you from this spiritual suicide, is to free you from this infatuation of following others and to come to think for yourself. Yeah.
Thus, the great science of religion has been reduced to mere allegiance to personalities. The present religious systems are governed by maxims and mandates. There is a saying, grammar is the grave of language. Try to save the grammar, keep it invariable, the language will be dead. Just so, the rigidity of perceptors and precepts saps the vitality of religion. The intelligent seer, particularly the youth, the world over, detest rigidity. They do not wish to be dictated to by doctrines and dogmas. They revolt against such unnatural education.
So we'll
Young men and women.
conclude with this thought. Actually, let's read this paragraph. Young men and women ought not to be pestered with thou shalts and thou shalt nots. Whatever is forced is never forceful. Do's and don'ts are not designed for human beings. Desire for anything increases with restriction and prohibition. Static precepts, superstitious beliefs, mechanical rituals are being thrust on people. It frustrates them. Rather, they need to be educated with the knowledge of life and living. The higher values of religion have to be presented systematically and logically to modern intellects. The philosophy of Vedanta answers the requirements of seekers of truth. The process may take time, but is sure to elevate them. The generation today, particularly, there's a reason why religion has, in general, declined. Wherever there is superstitious beliefs, wherever there is dogmatic beliefs, wherever there is mere allegiance to either personalities or ideas, that system will fail. all these maxims and mandates. One generation may follow them. The second generation, immediately there'll be a decline. By the third or fourth generation, it'll be gone. One of the reasons why we have come to where we are in this culture. Of course, there are many other historical reasons, political reasons. The way of communicating this knowledge, the entire Gurukul system has been lost. So unfortunately, we live in a time when we have lost the art of communicating this knowledge to our future generations. We are holding on to just ritualistic practices. We are holding on to some ideas, some do's and don'ts, but that's not the right way. So the study of a subject like Vedanta is very helpful for that. The younger generation don't want do's and don'ts. They don't want, it's not a moral science. They want to proceed with this knowledge, approach this knowledge logically. They want to proceed with this knowledge based on reason. And that's what Vedanta provides. That's what we're here to provide. So, to be educated with this knowledge of life and living, it takes time. Nothing will happen overnight. But over a period of time, and as this knowledge soaks in, it's definitely going to transform the learner. There's no doubt about this. And it's my conviction, as is the conviction of all other teachers of this knowledge. So with that thought, we'll conclude today, and I'm happy to take up any quick questions if there are.
Thank you very much, Kothari ji. I am Om Seth speaking.
Yes.
You see, I am now 88 years old. I'm talking of the long years back when we used to be taught. एक थप्पड़ मारते थे when we used to do mistake. And now the थप्पड़ मारना तो दूर है, हम बच्चों से डरते हैं कि कहीं वो हमारे को थप्पड़ ना मार दे, पुलिस को रिपोर्ट ना कर दें. दुनिया तो बहुत बदल गई है, लेकिन जो आप भी प्रफाउंड नॉलेज आपने दिया है, इट्स रियली अवेकनिंग कि हमको हम कितने चीजों में फंसे हुए हैं, डॉगमास में, इसमें उसमें, और रास्ता नजर ही नहीं आता. आज जो हम पढ़ रहे हैं, पहली बात तो ये है कि जो मेरी पास जो ये किताब है, ये बिल्कुल वैसा नहीं है जो आपके अभी जो आपने अभी जो पढ़ रहे हैं वो ये सेम नहीं है. थोड़ा सा डिफरेंस है इसमें. तो क्या मेरे को नई किताब खरीदनी पड़ेगी कि ये काफी है?
हाँ जी, आप नई किताब खरीद लो, मैं रेकमेंड
ले लूं? ओके, क्योंकि आई फाइंड लॉट ऑफ डिफरेंस इन दी टेक्स्ट, व्हाट इज बीइंग रेड एंड व्हाट इज इन दिस बुक. आई हैव सीन आल्सो. तो बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. मुझे आप चेहरे के ऊपर इतना नूर नजर आ रहा है, तो मैं यही सोचता रहा कि भाई हम बचपन में वेदांत क्यों नहीं पढ़े. और ये वेदांत का नूर है. आपके पेरेंट्स ने क्या दिया होगा मेरे को नहीं मालूम.
सर थैंक यू. मैं आपके जनरेशन में नहीं आया था बिकॉज मुझे थप्पड़ नहीं खाने थे. ठीक है. ये जो हमारी जो इस विद्या को आगे बढ़ाने की जो प्रॉब्लम है, वो आपके ज़माने से पहले से ही प्रॉब्लम चल रही है. ये 100 साल 200 साल 400 साल से प्रॉब्लम चल रही है. बट मेरा ये विश्वास है कि अगर हम ऐसे क्लासरूम्स में बैठ करके ऐसे चर्चा करेंगे, ऐसी नॉलेज बांटेंगे, so I am absolutely convinced that we will regain at least some of that science of conveying this knowledge methodically. Places like the Vedanta Academy where I have studied and several other ashrams, they provide that opportunity. So it will take some time, no doubt, and but there is a conviction that the values and the culture and this knowledge that is being conveyed through the subject, it will definitely lift us over a period of time. So thank you for that. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, when you follow this path of Vedanta, you have these questions that come to your mind when you're trying to enjoy certain things in life. And my friend recently asked me that, she's also following this path for almost 10-15 years. And she says that certain actions when we do to enjoy ourselves, that causes now when we follow this, it makes us feel not guilty. I will not use the word guilty, but it questions us. That question comes that you should not do this. So how do you stop that? Like what do you do about it?
Rely on your buddhi. If you're feeling guilty, then reflect on your action. Half the time, the guilt is unnecessary. See, um, I don't want to make it. The idea of this knowledge, it doesn't give a sets of do's and don'ts. Or some things are prohibited, some things are not prohibited. Okay, and there's no one set of actions that is permissible and one set of actions which is not permissible. You know, there's no set of actions that are right and a set of actions that are wrong. So there's no one size fits all for the guilt. For some people, a certain kind of action may be appropriate. For another set of people, the same action may be inappropriate. Right? So you have to rely on your own buddhi. In general, guilt by itself is not helpful. Guilt is a good provocation. It's a stepping stone. But if you don't resolve that guilt with clarity of thought, then it's not helpful. So, so more than making you feel guilty about things, this knowledge is focused on developing your constitution, your capacity to think, so that you can be clear about the choices you make, and ultimately take a course of action, make choices based on your values, based on what you want to be, who you want to be. Simple things. When you want to wake up, when you want to sleep, how much you want to eat, how much you want to do this, how much you want to go, where you want to go, what you want to study, what kind of thoughts you want to have, what kind of feelings you want to allow, what kind of feelings you don't want to allow. Right? It helps you become more deliberate. Right? So guilt is helpful in the beginning, but if it is not resolved, then it's no point. So we focus on intellect, on buddhi. Yeah.
Yes, I have a question, sir. So, on the last thought, like which we discussed, like forcing things upon people and the do's and don'ts. So, in what I have experienced is like the world is moving towards instant gratifications, and there are certain things which give result after a long time. Say, for example, discipline. So it has to be forced upon. We cannot see the value in discipline right now. So say if I'm talking to my child, so I will have to impose discipline, force upon it. Otherwise, I don't think it will be like their call to maintain a discipline in their life.
See, absolutely. What is, but you also understand the psychology of this process, right? How do you deal with a rajasic child? You show it some kind of benefit. You give it some kind of incentive. So there's a way. You're saying you have to, the other person may not understand the value of a particular action. You may have to directly or indirectly force them to do it, right? So you have to use a certain amount of psychology to go around it. If you directly force someone, there'll be a sense of repulsion, right? But if you play psychologically, right, if you show an incentive, then there may be that's an indirect way of getting someone to do something that you want. Okay. um First of all, I mean, the answer to this a question like this is pretty large, it's pretty big, but we underestimate the amount which, say, children imitate us. If you want your child to be disciplined, you underestimate the influence you have upon them through your own actions. If you're disciplined yourself, it'll go a long way. It's 50% of the job done. There's only one way to bring up your child, and that is to walk that way yourself. Said Abraham. There's only one way to raise your child, and that is to walk that way yourself. So, when you want to when you want to convey something, the idea is not to do it through dogmatic do's and don'ts and through forcing. One is be an embodiment of that yourself. Be that example for them to follow, because they will follow. That's what they look at. They imitate. Second is don't be direct. When it's not coming from them, when knowledge is not taken, when it is not asked for, be indirect. Krishna uses so much psychology in the Bhagavad Gita. It's not direct all the time. So you have to be indirect. See, my you can use temptation, rewards, benefits. It goes a long way. It can teach a lot of lessons. Any further questions?
No questions, Utsav. I just wanted to say that the love for this text shows you are really looking very, very inspired and, very, very, it's great hearing from you.
Wonderful. This is only the beginning.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. If there are no further questions, I have to run because I have a flight to catch. So Hari Om. We'll see you.
Hari Om. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Hari